Welcome back to CoinQuest coin lovers and treasure hunters. Today, we are diving deep into the story of a humble little coin that just might be hiding in your pocket or tucked away in a jar somewhere. The 1977 Lincoln 1-cent penny. It might look like any ordinary penny, but trust me, some of these can be worth way more than just 1 cent. And today, we are going to break down why. So how can a single penny from 1977 be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? What makes this specific year stand out from all the rest? Stick around, because we are about to uncover the mystery, value, and hidden gems inside this seemingly ordinary piece of copper. Let us start with the basics. The 1977 penny features the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front with the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1977. This design has been around since 1909, when it was created to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday. On the reverse side, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, which had been featured on the back of the penny from 1959 to 2008. Now, here is an interesting fact. The 1977 penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was just before the big change in 1982, when pennies started being made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. Because of the high copper content, each 1977 penny is actually worth more than a cent just in melt value alone. Although it is illegal to melt them down, in 1977 the U.S. Mint struck these pennies at two main locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia minted coins have no mint mark, while those from Denver carry a small d under the date. Both versions are fairly common, but condition, rarity, and errors are what can make a huge difference in value. If you have a circulated 1977 penny in your pocket change, it is usually worth about 1 cent, maybe 2, if it is in slightly better shape. Uncirculated coins, those that were never used and kept in pristine condition, can fetch anywhere from 10 cents to over $1 depending on grade. Now here's where it gets exciting. High-grade 1977 pennies graded MS65 or higher can start commanding higher prices, and if you are lucky enough to have one graded MS67 or even MS68, you could be looking at a value of $50 to $100 or more. In fact, one 1977 penny graded MS67 read by PCGS sold for around $200 at auction. That is not a bad return for a coin you might already own. Now let's talk about the real goldmine, the error coins. 1977 was a year with some very interesting minting mistakes, and those mistakes are what collectors go wild for. Let's go over a few error types you should be looking for. First, the double die obverse. This means the front of the coin was struck twice, slightly off, causing letters, numbers, and details to appear doubled. Look closely at the date and the word liberty. If you see any doubling, that's a major find and could be worth from $50 to several $100s depending on condition. Next, off-center strikes. These occur when the coin is not properly aligned in the press. Coins with 10 to 50% off-center strikes are especially collectible. Values range from $10 to over $100. Then we have clipped planchets. These are coins that are missing a small curved section due to a mistake when the coin blank was cut. A 1977 penny with a clipped planchet can fetch anywhere from $5 to $50 depending on size and overall look. Another rare but possible error is the transitional or wrong planchet strike. For example, if a 1977 penny was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, it would be smaller in size and silver in color. Those rare finds can be worth hundreds. So how do you know if your 1977 penny is worth anything? Start by checking the condition. The less wear and more shine, the better. Then look closely for any errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual coloring. If you think you have a rare variety, consider sending it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC to get it professionally evaluated. Now let's talk market trends. The value of these coins can change based on demand, collector interest, and auction results. As of right now in 2025, high-grade error pennies from 1977 are doing very well, with more people getting into coin collecting. Rare and high-quality coins are fetching higher and higher prices. Even ordinary uncirculated 1977 pennies in red condition are seeing more demand than in years past. So if you have a roll of them lying around. You may want to take a closer look to wrap it all up. The 1977 Lincoln penny is a coin that most people overlook, but it holds a lot more value than meets the eye, whether it's because of a rare mint error, an unusually high grade, or just the historic charm of a coin nearly 50 years old. This little copper piece could be worth much more than 1 cent, so go check your change jars, your old piggy banks, your coin rolls. Who knows, that 1 penny you almost gave away might just be worth a small fortune. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1977 penny, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more coin collecting tips and rare coin spotlights every week. Comment below if you have a 1977 penny or want help identifying an error coin. You never know, your coin might be our next featured video. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep searching, keep collecting, and keep the history alive, one coin at a time. If you're new here, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because today we're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in recent years, the 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny. And believe it or not, some of these little copper coins are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So make sure to watch till the end, because we're going to break down the history behind the coin, the rare varieties you need to look out for, and the current market value in 2025. Alright, so let's start with the basics. The 1988 Lincoln cent was minted as part of the regular circulating coinage in the United States, featuring the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front side. This design was originally created by Victor David Brenner and has been in use since 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Now, by 1988, this design had already been on the penny for nearly 80 years, and it's instantly recognizable to almost every American now. The 1988 penny was made in 3 main locations: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and for collector sets a limited number were made at the San Francisco Mint. The Philadelphia Mint coins have no mint mark, the Denver coins have a small d, and the San Francisco proof coins have an S mint mark, although proof coins are typically not found in circulation. But here's where things start getting really interesting. Most 1988 pennies are only worth face value in circulated condition, but there are rare varieties that can sell for big money. And we're going to talk about the biggest one right now, the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety. Now, this is where the real money is. So what does that mean, reverse of 1989? Well, it refers to the back side of the penny, which was slightly modified in 1989. But somehow a small number of 1988 pennies were struck using the 1989 reverse die. This happened mainly in Philadelphia, and a few from Denver as well. Now, what makes this variety special is the FG initials, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the designer of the reverse side. On the normal 1988 penny, the initials are spaced differently and shaped slightly different than the ones found on the 1989 die, and collectors use a magnifying glass to spot this detail. Now, you're probably wondering, how much is this thing worth? Well, let's talk numbers. A regular 1988 penny in circulated condition is worth 1 cent, maybe slightly more to collectors if it's in pristine condition. But the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety can fetch anywhere from $75 to over $350. Depending on the condition, and in high mid-state grades like MS66 or higher. Some examples have sold for over $1,000 at auctions. And what about proof coins? Well, the 1988 proof penny is worth a little more than face value, usually between $2 to $5. But if it's graded PR69 or PR70 deep cameo by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, then it could go for $10 to $25 or more. Now let's go even deeper and talk about grading, because coin condition is absolutely everything in the world of coin collecting. A coin that's heavily worn will never sell for as much as a shiny uncirculated coin. So when we say a coin is MS65 or MS66, that means it's in mint state condition with very few marks or flaws, and those are the coins that serious collectors want in their collections. So how do you know if you have one of these rare pennies? Well, first grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and look at the FG initials on the reverse. If they appear closer to the Lincoln Memorial and more defined, like the 1989 design, then you may just have a winner. Also check for sharp details on Lincoln's jacket and hair on the obverse side, because clearer detail usually means better condition. Now let's take a quick look at the current market. In 2025, these coins are still being actively bought and sold on eBay heritage auctions and through private collectors, and the demand for the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety remains strong, especially in high grades. For example, a PCGS graded MS67 example recently sold for over $1,500, and that's just 1 cent, turning into serious cash. So why are people paying so much? Well, it comes down to rarity, collector demand, and the thrill of owning a mint error or variety that slipped through the cracks of the US Mint. Plus, let's be honest, it's kind of exciting to think you might have a little treasure sitting in your pocket or an old jar of coins. Before we wrap up, here's a quick tip: always check your change. Always check old coin rolls from the bank, and especially if you're a collector or just someone who enjoys the treasure hunt, keep your eyes open for oddities in design, mint marks, and dates. Sometimes a tiny detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune. Alright folks, that's it for today's deep dive into the 1988 Lincoln penny. Remember, not all pennies are created equal, and sometimes the smallest details hold the biggest value. If you learned something new today, or you're planning to go check your coin collection after this video, drop a comment below and let us know. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a video about coin values, rare finds, and more money tips. See you in the next video, and happy collecting. We are talking about a seemingly ordinary coin that could be worth way more than just 1 cent. Yes, we are diving into the world of the 2006 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent penny and exploring its rich history, production details, and what makes some of these coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So, if you've got a jar of change lying around, you might want to grab it, because you never know what hidden gems you could have in there. Let's start with a little background on the Lincoln cent. Now, the Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than Lady Liberty, and it quickly became a staple in American currency. For nearly a century, the coin retained the same obverse design, which means the front of the coin with Lincoln's profile, but over the years the reverse or back design saw a few changes. Now fast forward to 2006, this was still part of the long run of Lincoln pennies featuring the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, which had been introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday, and had remained in use all the way until 2008 before the design change in 2009 for the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the penny itself. So that makes the 2006 penny one of the last few years to bear the classic Lincoln Memorial design. But what makes the 2006 penny special or valuable? Well, most 2006 pennies are only worth face value in circulated condition. However, there are certain factors that can drastically increase a coin's worth, and these include the condition of the coin, whether it's from the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, and most importantly, whether it has any errors or rare variations that collectors go crazy for. Let's break it down. First off, the mint mark on the coin can help you identify where it was produced. If there's a small letter D below the year 2006, then it was made at the Denver Mint. If there's no letter, then it was minted in Philadelphia. Now, while both mints produced hundreds of millions of these pennies, the value comes in when we talk about mint state grades and errors. For example, if you have a 2006 penny that's been graded mint state 67 or higher by a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC, then you could be looking at a coin worth anywhere from $10 to $100 or more depending on demand and rarity. But the real money is in the errors and varieties. Yes, believe it or not, mistakes made during the minting process can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Let's look at a few examples that have sold for a lot of money. One common and valuable error is the double die. This occurs when the coin is struck twice, slightly off alignment, causing a doubling effect on the letters or numbers for the 2006 penny collectors have reported double die obverse, where you can see slight doubling in the word liberty, or the motto, "In God we trust" coins with this kind of error can sell from $50 to several $100 depending on the clarity of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin. Another valuable error is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin is not properly centered during minting. This results in part of the design being cut off, while some of the blank planchet, the metal disc used to make the coin, is still visible. Depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is, coins like these can go for $100 to $300 or more, especially if the date is still visible. You also have die cracks and cuts, which are raised lines or blobs on the coin caused by broken or damaged dies. While these errors are less dramatic than double dies or off-centers, they are still highly collectible when pronounced and can fetch from $10 to $50 easily, sometimes more. And don't forget about proof coins. In 2006, the U.S. Mint released special proof sets for collectors, including a 2006 proof penny struck in San Francisco. These proof coins have a mirror-like finish and are struck multiple times to bring out fine details. While they are not rare on their own, a perfect grade like PR70 can still bring in a decent value on the market, usually around $10 to $30, and occasionally higher depending on demand. So, you might be wondering what the current market value is for these 2006 pennies. As of today, circulated examples are generally worth just 1 cent, but uncirculated coins with high grades can be worth from a few dollars up to around $100. Error coins can fetch even more, with some rare examples reaching over $500 or higher on online auction sites, especially when two or more rare features combine in a single coin. Collectors are always on the lookout for pristine examples and rare variations. So, if you have a 2006 Lincoln penny, take a close look at it. Grab a magnifying glass and inspect the date, the lettering, and the rim. Look for anything that seems off or different from normal. And if you think you have something special, consider sending it to a reputable grading service to authenticate and grade it properly. Remember, coin values can fluctuate based on collector demand, metal prices, and the overall condition of the coin. So keeping your coins in a safe and protected environment is always a good idea. So to sum it all up, the 2006 Lincoln penny might seem ordinary, but with the right error or in high grade, it could be worth way more than 1 cent, whether it's a double die off-center strike proof coin or just a flawless uncirculated example. There are plenty of opportunities to find value in what many people consider spare change. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another deep dive into coin collecting, treasure hunting, and discovering the hidden value in everyday objects. Drop a comment below if you found any rare pennies or want us to cover another coin in the future. See you next time, and happy hunting, where we explore rare coins, hidden treasures, and everything numismatic. Today we're diving deep into one of the most talked about pennies in recent years, the 2020 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent penny. At first glance, it might just look like your average modern coin, but hold up, because some of these 2020 pennies are worth way more than just 1 cent. In fact, collectors have paid hundreds and even thousands of dollars for certain rare varieties of this exact coin. So stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know everything you need to spot one that could be worth serious cash. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln cent has been around for over a century. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than an allegorical figure. Over the years, the design changed a few times, but Lincoln has remained on the front or obverse of the penny ever since. Fast forward to 2020, and the penny still features Lincoln's bust on the front with the Union shield on the back. But don't let that simplicity fool you. There's more to this modern coin than meets the eye. Now here's where it gets interesting. The 2020 penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, which has no mint mark; Denver, which uses a small D mint mark; and San Francisco, which uses an S. Most of the coins you'll find in circulation are from Philadelphia and Denver. San Francisco pennies are usually made for collectors and sold in proof sets. So what makes a 2020 penny worth more than face value? Well, it comes down to errors, varieties, and condition. Let's talk about errors first. Error coins happen when something goes wrong during the minting process. This could include doubling off center strikes, die cracks, or even coins that were struck on the wrong metal point. One of the most valuable 2020 pennies found so far is a double die obverse, also known as a DDO. This means the coin was struck twice, slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect that's most noticeable in the letters and numbers, especially the word Liberty and the date 2020. If you have a 2020 penny with doubling visible to the naked eye, hold on to it, because these can sell for $50 to $100 or even more depending on the grade. Another thing to look out for is the wide AM variety. Now, this isn't common on 2020 pennies, but it's still worth checking just in case. Normally the letters A and M in America on the reverse are close together, but on some rare coins they're spaced farther apart. This variation can fetch good money, especially in higher grades. Speaking of condition, let's talk about coin grading. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 70 being a perfect flawless coin straight from the mint. Most pennies you find in your change are probably circulated and would grade around MS60 or lower. But uncirculated coins, especially those graded MS65 or higher, can be quite valuable. A 2020 penny in MS67 red, for example, has sold for over $200 at auction. A perfect MS70 from a proof set can go for even more. And don't forget about color. Pennies are graded not just by wear but by tone, and red is the most desirable. Red pennies mean the copper luster is still strong and untouched by oxidation. Red, brown, and brown are less valuable but still collectible depending on the year and rarity. Now you might be wondering, okay, but how do I find these valuable pennies? Great question. Start by checking your change. Look closely at every 2020 penny you get. Use a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe to inspect the lettering, the date, and the overall surface. Look for any signs of doubling, weird shapes, extra metal, die cracks, or anything unusual. If something looks off, it might be an error coin. And yes, error coins are highly collectible. If you have a coin that looks promising, consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. This does cost money, but it can be worth it if the coin is rare. A certified grade makes it easier to sell and usually increases the value. Now let's talk current market value. As of now in 2025, regular 2020 pennies from circulation are worth 1 cent, of course. But certain varieties, like the 2020D in high mint state, can be worth over $100. Proof versions, especially graded MS70 or PR70 from San Francisco, can reach prices from $30 to $150 depending on demand. And error coins, well, the sky's the limit. Some have sold for over $500 just because of a rare strike or a unique minting issue. Another tip is to keep rolls of uncirculated 2020 pennies if you come across them. Some people buy whole boxes from banks or coin dealers and just store them. Over time, these rolls might appreciate in value, especially if fewer people have kept them in mint condition. Think of it like coin investing with a low buy-in cost. Collectors are always looking for the next big thing, and the 2020 Lincoln penny is definitely one of those sleeper coins. It's modern enough to be accessible, but has enough interesting varieties to keep the hunt exciting. If you're new to coin collecting or just curious about what's hiding in your change, you might want to start paying closer attention to those little copper coins. Alright folks, that's everything you need to know about the 2020 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. From its rich history to valuable errors to the current market values, you now have the knowledge to start looking for your own treasure. Check your jars, your pockets, your couch cushions. You never know when a simple penny could turn into a $100 find. If you learned something new today, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more coin tips, coin hunts, and coin history. Drop a comment if you've ever found a valuable penny, or if you have questions about your own collection. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.